Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, to join. Who's joining us today? We are super excited to answer these questions that we compiled. We got, 100 questions. And some of them were, of course, the same, but we compiled a list of 20 that we'll try and answer today. And those are amazing questions. And I'm happy to have an open and honest discussion with our community about all of these things that I'm looking at on the screen right now. And as you know, Winding Tree has announced quite a bit of stuff in the past few weeks. And I think we're on a roll because there's more stuff coming up, and maybe we can touch upon that. And we'll be definitely publishing and more stuff about what's going to be released soon. And we'll try and just stay more open, I guess, to our community, who is, people are trying to talk to us all of the time, and we should be on there. We should be online. Let's make this a habit, this kind of conversations and AMAs, because again, the questions that I see on the screen are absolutely amazing, and I would love to address all of those things. And thanks to everyone who's sent a question, and thank you everyone who is watching this for participating. And let's get this started. Thank you, guys. And on call today, we have Clément and Frederico, who will have their 5 minutes of fame a little bit later, maybe into the call. But they are good friends and supporters, and they're working on amazing projects that, again, they'll have a chance to talk about. The project is Kleros. Anyhow, let's get started. So we have about, as I said, 20 questions that we compiled over here. And if we're going to have more time, this is going to run for an hour and 30 minutes. If we're going to have more time, Spencer, who you all know, will give me more questions in the chat over here that I'm looking at. But if there will be some issues or questions that we won't be able to address today, we will do another AMA in about 2 weeks, I would say. That's a good time frame. And answer those things over there. And maybe, some things will be still unclear after today's conversation. So we'll try and address everything in about 2 weeks, as I said. Monday's a good time for this kind of thing, so we'll do that. I'm going to get started. So can you talk about the economic runway for Winding Tree? Can you increase staff if needed? And can you move forward without raising funds, or will you need to raise additional funds to grow and maintain for the next 18 months? How many questions are there? 1, 2, 3 at least. In terms of runway, we have about a year, and we are, well, a decently sized team. We have around 10 people right now. Some of them full-time, some of them are part-time, but we have a pretty solid team with which we are developing all of those things that we are, things that we're releasing. And in terms of our runway, I think 1 year is more than enough for us to raise the next round of funding. And the question here is, how we're going to do this. What does it mean for us to raise the next round of funding? Because during the ICO, we said, no, we are raising money only once, and that's it. And we're promising to develop the platform. That was our original promise. Publish it out there, put it out there so it's functional and stuff like that. And this is related to some of the next questions that I see, of course, on the list. And the answer here is the following. So in terms of Winding Tree, in terms of the platform that we promised to deliver 3 years ago, give or take, we do have all of those open source tools and projects that some of them aren't yet released, which we're going to do very soon, like those glider modules that have to be open source. There's a DAO component that we are making a priority right now to make it absolutely decentralized. But the platform is there. Like, we put it out there, and the second question says, is Winding Tree ready for mass adoption? I think it is. From the technological point of view, all of those different components are there. Companies that want to talk to each other through APIs on a decentralized marketplace can do that today. Problems that we're facing are slightly different. Those problems are not technological. Well, they are technological, and they are, I don't know, user experience or psychological problems, because let's say many people from the travel industry that work for corporations will not be able to install a new browser extension such as MetaMask or something like that, right? So that's something that we still need to address, but the technology is there. So I had a call today with a potential user of the platform in OTA, and he asked me that, how are you going to sustain this in the long run? What happens if you get hit by a bus? And the answer is nothing happens. Platform continues. If travel companies and other types of companies find it useful, and we are making sure that it is useful to them, we're explaining that stuff to them right now, the platform stays out there. And in terms of economic runway for Winding Tree, we don't need a lot of money. We need open source contributors, we need usage, but do we need a big team to support this in the long run? We don't need that. And our plan is to have some proprietary solutions where we are going to charge the users of the platform that need consulting services or something like that. We will be developing solutions on top of this. And for that, we will need to raise money, because all the money that we raise, we're not going to use that money to develop proprietary technologies. All that money is going into the development of the Winding Tree marketplace, right? That's the open source stuff. That's the open platform that we promised. And so in the next year or so, we will be raising money, and we will be convincing investors that, hey, there is this platform that's happening, it's going on. We convince people and we show to people that it is useful to them, and we're planning to build such and such other proprietary services on top of that, in order for us to, well, first of all, make a living, and second, to develop the platform further as open source contributors to this platform. So kind of like your open source business models, again, that we've been talking for a while about, Red Hat and stuff like that, where, yes, there is an open source Linux distributive, right, that anyone can take and use for whatever they want. But then there's a company that has some sort of consulting services and other business services, and it's building proprietary modules for corporations, all sorts of that thing. But again, our main focus, of course, is to make sure that the Winding Tree is used by as many people as possible and supported along the way. Yeah, so I think I answered like 5 questions out of the 20 that we have over here. Is Winding Tree ready for mass adoption? As I said, absolutely. Technologically, yes. In terms of seeding the marketplace, that's our main concern right now and main goal. And we're reaching out and re-engaging all those partners that we've talked to over the past of this 2 years or 3 years, and re-engaging them. But as you know, for travel right now, it's not the best time at all. With many partners with whom we had very, very active discussions, they just said, hey, we just fired all of our innovation people. So that's not a priority. Priority is surviving. A couple of companies like that. Many others are saying, hey, we don't have a lot of travel right now. We don't have this operation expenses, I guess, or we have tools and people available right now to look into Winding Tree and how to use that. So that's very good. So constant conversations with those companies. And of course, we have Pedro Anderson here, who is in charge of these activities. And Pedro, if you want to add any specific details about that, just let me know, and we'll switch to you, I guess. How could the question number 4? How could the community support your efforts best? This is something that's been on my to-do list for a while, that we need to explain our community how they can do that, how can they participate. And as you know, we've hosted a few hackathons where all sorts of trial companies came to, and we had great conversations. But still, I feel like we don't have that component on our website right now where, let's say I'm a developer at the trial agency and I'm coming to the Winding Tree website. There should be a clear path for them to follow, where they would understand, okay, this is where I fit. I don't know what they do, design, programming, something else. But they should have a very good idea about how they contribute to this open source grassroots initiative. And as I said, that's on our to-do list. We'll be posting clearer guides about how to do that. For now, the answer is, if you go on GitHub, we have a bunch of repositories that are already open source. If you're a developer, you can read through them. If you're a designer, if you're anyone who is interested in promoting the platform in any way and pushing it forward, send us an email, join our Telegram chat. But as I said, we will be working on the guides about how particularly designers, developers, travel industry people, how they can help this. Could you please discuss a typical onboarding process, what the main obstacles for companies are, and how you are addressing them? Really hitting it on the nail, and this is very much related to our onboarding part. As I said, one of our main goals right now is onboarding companies onto the marketplace, seeding the marketplace, as we call it. We've, over the past few weeks after the webinar that we did, constant calls every day. I'm not exactly sure about the numbers. Again, Pedro, if you want to address that, please do. But onboarding process, all the companies are different. Companies that talk to us, they have different goals, they have different ideas, they have different understanding about what Winding Tree can and cannot do. So we're explaining it to them to the best of our ability, and then we're just asking them what they're trying to achieve right now. And many companies are just curious.
I can add my 2 cents. I would say that the biggest challenge to the onboarding process, this is Pedro. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself when I came in, was actually the MetaMask component. And this is something that we're looking into and trying to find an easy way for corporate users to adapt to the world of having to use something like MetaMask. And it's something that we're going to be kind of looking into what others are doing. I'm sure Federico, Clément maybe have hit upon this if you've worked with any traditional industries and the use of MetaMask, how it's very challenging, right?
I think Clément is stuck.
Yeah, for sure. So actually using MetaMask, it's not specifically hard. And I think a lot of stuff in crypto are not specifically hard. It's just that people are not used to it. But as people get more used to it, using crypto is generally easier than using a legacy system. For example, using MetaMask is offering a way better user experience compared to the classic model where you have to create an account, where you need to set up a password, where the website is gonna shut on you because they don't like the way you make your password. You need to use a password manager because otherwise, if once website is hacked, all of your accounts are hacked. That's way more complicated than just clicking connect on MetaMask. It's just that people are not used to it. So the legacy system still have an edge there. But once people are going to be used to it, the legacy system will be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, in some cases, you have problems like some potential customers. It's not about even MetaMask. It's just that they can't use crypto because of they don't know how crypto works, or they are legally they can't legally use crypto in some cases. So that's a different
In our case, some companies that we work with are big corporations with strict rules about what kind of software they can install on their computer, including browser extensions and mobile applications that they can install on their phone. So that's something that we have to navigate, but I know there are some ideas in non-custodial wallets and all of those things that will have to combine to improve the user experience around just travel people coming to Winding Tree and very, very quickly signing up without trying to navigate through this maze of new concepts for them. And of course, there will be always an option to communicate with the Winding Tree Marketplace via MetaMask or whatever wallet you have, or directly through the smart contract if you want to, of course, because it is completely decentralized, as you know. But we have to have better ways for travel people to do this.
Adding to the community question, how could the community support efforts? Two things that I guess adding on to what you already commented, Max, about designers and developers, just as a general community member, promotion around the work that's being done. I remembered Evan Van Ness from Ethereum newsletter saying that if he sees a project and there's something posted on Reddit, for example, and there's not so many, X many upvotes, he's kind of sees it as a signal that it's a dead community. It's not active enough, right? So the promotion there. And another thing that's kind of exciting for me that I plan to do once this COVID quarantine thing starts slowing down is actually using the application itself. So with Glider, you can travel anywhere that Air Canada travels. You can go in the biggest hotel chain in Scandinavia and book many locations. So actually using the application, and of course, right now it's very limited in space, but we're actively adding more companies. So there's gonna be a lot more locations and destinations and routes that you can take. So those are more of the general, if you're not in the travel industry, if you're not a developer and you're not a designer, activities that could be taken as well.
Do you want to take the next question, number 5, just right away?
Sure. So as far as marketing activity, you've probably noticed that we're a very under-marketed project. That's something we've been criticized for a lot. Why aren't you pumping the project? Why isn't it, all over, I don't know, casino sites with your ads everywhere? Like, why isn't it something that's actively peddled? And our answer has always been, talk is cheap, show me the code, and we're more focused on building and development. So when Max mentioned the runway, we're talking about product and development people. We don't have enough funding to do active marketing and sales activity beyond the inbound that's coming in, which we have a lot of. And of course, we'll do, as founders, we do the virtual events and maybe even some physical events in the near term. But what we're looking at is funding options to try to expand to a more customer-facing and sales and account management side now that the platform is launched. And it's really a matter of just bringing in more folks and helping them with the onboarding process, because the marketplace is live now. And now we're at the very exciting point where the next question is, how does Winding Tree and Kleros work together? What does the partnership entail? Is Lyft involved? Maybe Max, you want to answer from our side of how it fits together, and then we can hand over the mic to Federico and Clément. I'd love to hear their parts as well.
Absolutely.
And they also weren't introduced at the beginning, so maybe when they come on, do the proper intro.
I will do the proper intro. So as you know, at the core of the Winding Tree Marketplace, the Winding Tree platform, there are 2 features. What is what is a decentralized marketplace? What, as a company that wants to participate in the decentralized marketplace, what kind of features am I expecting or should have at that marketplace? And those two features are discovery and trust, right? Discovery in the sense that I want to have a database of all the possible companies that, let's say I'm a travel agent, right? I want to find as many hotels as possible in a certain location or in the world in general. So that's the discovery part. That's done through our smart contract and through this decentralized identity solution, OrgID. Then there is the trust component, right? So where we're saying, how do I know that the hotel that I see on the marketplace, that's listed themselves on the marketplace, how do I know that that's a real company? And there are several layers and levels of trust that this company can provide whenever they sign up to the Winding Tree Marketplace. First, you can start with very, very simple things. Let's say, again, you are registering as a Marriott hotel somewhere, right? Very easy to do. Prove that you own a certain website that's hosted on the Marriott domain, right? The link goes two ways. And everyone can see that your account or your org ID, as we call it, is directly linked to that website, which could bring some trust to that. Same goes for all sorts of social networks. This is like, it works kind of like Keybase for companies, right? So basically you're proving that this is a real account and not some sort of scammer. Then we have this technology that's called verifiable credentials. So basically the idea is that if you could prove your website absolutely on your own. You don't need a third party for you to be able to say, okay, so I'm connected to this website, to this Twitter account, to this Facebook account, et cetera, et cetera. With credentials, by definition, a third party is providing some sort of piece of data, cryptographically signed, directly linked to their Winding Tree Marketplace account that certifies something about your company. And the example here is, of course, IATA could be on our marketplace issuing digital certificates of compliance with whatever the IATA rules are, and issuing those things to airlines and to other companies, to travel agencies and stuff, in a completely electronic way. So that's credentials. That's the second layer of trust on the marketplace. But we want to do it, we would love to see Winding Tree Marketplace working in a completely decentralized way without, a government body or some sort of trust association or something like that, like IATA or something, certifying everyone, which is a long process. It could be, it could take a month maybe, or several weeks. And with Federico, I've been honored to be friends with Federico for quite some time, and I knew about Kleros for a long time now, and we discussed it many, many times, and I'm very, very happy to see that their project is absolutely taking off. So this is amazing, and kudos to you guys for all the hard work that you've done there. And basically the Kleros solution is to have the community of travel companies to decide which company is trustworthy or not on the marketplace. And it involves smart contracts that were developed by Kleros, and it involves, of course, some user interfaces built on top of that, which we're currently working on. But yeah, maybe the rest, Federico can explain. And
sure. Yeah.
Last, he's the CEO of Kleros, which is one-liner. It's a decentralized justice platform. Is that correct?
That's correct. So this is how it works. So smart contracts are like smart enough to self-execute as programmed, but they are not smart enough to incorporate like subjective things into the blockchain, right? And lots of transactions that happen in marketplaces and in life, basically, like are affected by some interpretation and subjectivity that cannot be solved strictly by code. Like, for example, you hire some guy to build some software for you, and there is a dispute about whether this complied or not with the contract. And yeah, there are some objective things about the contract, but you have some interpretation that can only be done by humans. And what Kleros does is provides a core system where different members of the community can stake a token, and they can be selected to be jurors in disputes happening in these situations, and they can then vote who is right. And there is a whole incentive system set up for the vote to be secure and not to be gamed by malicious agents and etc. And one of the key use cases of Kleros is curation. So basically, when you have to make a list of hotels, let's say, you want this list to be done by people in an honest way and not having like items that should not belong to the list, like spam or like or malicious listings. So you can have this like community make the curation on what items, what hotels or what travel agencies should be allowed into the list, and do this into a transparent way, that you know how this is done, that no central agent is controlling the process, no one can censor you. So that's what we're working together. And I let Clément expand more on the specifics of how this is working, but this is the main idea.
And Clément is
So
Kleros.
thank you, Maksim. So with Winding Tree, there will be a curated registry of Winding Tree organization. So for example, hotel, airline, or any kind of organization related to the travel business. And we need to verify that those organizations are legit. Like for example, if someone registers as a Marriott hotel, it's not just someone impersonating this company to try to scam people and with an hotel which do not even exist. So on this registry, travel businesses are going to be able to stake some Lyft to get verified. But once a business stakes some Lyft, anyone who thinks that this business is a fake one or has been given misleading information can challenge this registration. And they will show evidence of why this business is fake or should not be registered. And this goes to the Kleros court if the business disputes this claim. If the business is okay, I made a mistake, the challenger would get the Lyft stake of the business. But if the business thinks that is actually a legit business, he will also put some arbitration fees, and then it goes to Kleros. So that's a way to curate information about businesses to be listed on Winding Tree.
Yeah, and this is a very important process because we have to absolutely make sure in a decentralized way, without resorting to verifying each and every company that will be present on the marketplace manually. We have to make sure that we have a community of real companies, right? And that, let's say, one company is not registered twice, which is another big problem in any decentralized kind of environment. And through this process, through this multi-tiered process, we are making sure that, again, companies are real, they're non-duplicates, and only those companies will be able to participate in the governance of the smart contracts through the DAO, which is already underway. Maybe you have seen our open source repository about the DAO, which is in development. We have touched it a couple months ago, the last time, because we had this big push and onboarding and everything. But we're bringing this whole thing together in such a way that trusted and verified travel companies, and again, OrgID is extensible to other types of companies as well, but in our particular case, trusted travel companies will be in charge of this decentralized travel marketplace, dictating the rules of the marketplace, the way the smart contract will be upgraded and all of that. And at the core of that, along with the Kleros smart contracts and their involvement, we have the Lyft as the staking solution here, where, well, first of all, you prove that you are not a spammer because you will have to spend some amount of cryptocurrency. And there's this very, very interesting game theory that the Kleros smart contracts are bringing to the table here. And I encourage you to go to Kleros.io, it's Kleros.io, and read a little bit more about how their smart contract works, how their platform works in general. but basically everyone on this platform, on the Winding Tree Marketplace, will have an incentive to either participate as a travel company, participate as an expert who could say, hey, this is a real hotel, or no, this is not a real hotel. So it's a very, very exciting opportunity for all of us, for the whole community here. And that's another way. Maybe there was a question about how could the community support the efforts. So that's maybe another way how you can contribute, being a part of this. So that's in a nutshell how Kleros and Winding Tree collaboration is working as of now. Our timelines is about probably in about a month could launch one of the first interfaces around this. So but we'll see how this thing's going to go. And again, we have a lot of work in terms of onboarding other companies onto the Winding Tree Marketplace. And this is our absolute priority because we have to make sure that we have as many companies trading as possible. Anyhow, moving on to the next question, which is trading Ether Leaf pair on EDEX is currently not possible in the US without using a VPN. Do you plan to do anything about this? The short answer is yes, absolutely we do. And we've actually done something about this over this weekend, but hopefully that pull request is going to be merged soon. I'm not going to give out any more details about that. We're trying to do all sorts of crazy things about this. But yes, we will be putting Lyft on some other decentralized exchanges, which, because it's decentralized, it should be accessible anywhere in the world, right? So people in the US, rejoice. Lyft is going to be available for you very soon. Question number 9. Why do we not get regular updates from the team? It should be considered that all your money to fund the project is money from the ICO contributors. At least it should be communicated on a regular basis how you will achieve, I guess, how you will drive the value of the token as outlined in the ICO white paper. So basically the question is about the regularity of our communication with our ICO participants, which we try to communicate with them daily, and Spencer is the head of our community in that regard, answering questions all the time on our Telegram. And the second part of the question, so we try to communicate regularly, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. But we should have the same ACE every 2 weeks or so. That's absolutely, whoever was asking it, you're absolutely right. We should be out there. We should be talking more about our progress, which we have a bunch. And in terms of driving the value of the token, I think we've just sort of addressed it, how the token is going to be used. And there will be another question about why the role of the token is going to be a little bit different than it was outlined in the white paper. And we're get there. Have I answered this question? I don't know, guys. Let me know, whoever is listening to this, like on Telegram, just say something. I'm going to have the Telegram chat open right now, so we can have.
They can ask on the YouTube chat as well.
Say again?
They can also ask on the YouTube chat itself.
Right. How do I see that?
Oh, no, I guess if you're looking at the Telegram, then maybe just leave it at that. Too many.
Sounds good. Next question. Why is the Lyft token not being listed in other exchanges? Are you not concerned with getting it on a better exchange or providing more liquidity for trading? There's always well, a little philosophical, I guess, thing, but anything in our lives has two components, the contents and the form of it, right? And we can pretend that we are a big token that, anyone and everyone has to buy and all of that stuff. But I think we're going to be lying if we go get listed on a big exchange and stuff like that, while, for example, there's not a lot of companies that are trading on the Winding Tree Marketplace. I mean, why would we do that? In crypto, we call it pumping, right? We could do that. We could do that a year ago or 2 years ago. We would do that, and many projects have done that, and a bunch of people, I guess, got a lot of money because of that, because of this speculation. But our game from the very beginning, and we try to make it as clear as possible, and I'm just restating it once again, our job is not speculation, not promoting speculation, not helping speculation. Therefore, we will list Lyft on a big exchange when there is actual value, when there is actual demand, when there is a travel company coming to the marketplace and saying, well, okay, so where do I get those Lyft tokens, right? And right now, the main goal in that regard is to explain to them why they need all of that, right? Our job is to explain to all the travel companies that this is absolutely the best way of doing travel. Once we've achieved that goal, once there is a critical mass on the marketplace and it starts rolling on its own, of course, we're going to go on a big exchange, and that's going to be, the mic drop moment. Absolutely, we're thinking about this. We're here for you guys. We are responsible. We had a promise to build a decentralized marketplace because he gave us all that money, and that's exactly what we're doing. How has the travel ecosystem changed due to coronavirus? Well, quite a bit, guys. Like in many jurisdictions, travel is reduced by 80, 90%. It's pretty hard for the travel community, and that's why many companies that we're talking to are...
From our newsletter, we had 70,000, and most of them are travel executives. There was a drop of about, I think it was 15,000 throughout the course of COVID, people that got laid off. And this is, usually executive level for most of these companies. So it's a very hard time. A lot of the hotels that we work with, they're, very few that we're in communication with. They have very few team members that are full capacity. A lot of the innovation teams at airlines have also been eliminated. So it changed as far as activity. And of course, it makes it a hard time to launch a marketplace. We launched July 1st when there's essentially no travel going on. But we see it as a big opportunity because a lot of the more innovative companies are looking for ways to come out of this travel slump stronger. And this is a vehicle to do that. They want to find ways to get out of the current bondage and limitations that they have with the legacy systems. And because there's low activity, it's easier to try new things, and there's more of an incentive to do so. So it's a bad thing, but it's also a good thing, the COVID, the way it's hit the travel ecosystem.
It is very interesting and exciting times that we live through. It's incredible. Short answer, travel has changed quite drastically, and I think we will see the effects of coronavirus for a couple more years, and hopefully companies that were struggling before, now that they will understand that it's time during this slowdown, that this is the time to change something in terms of how travel industry works. Moving on, I am planning on doing anything to bring more awareness in the crypto community to attract more traders. Have you thought about expanding your marketing by contacting influencers like YouTube, people's Telegram, and Twitter? What's your strategy when it comes to reaching crypto investors? That's again, a whole bunch of questions in one. I'm not going to say that right now. I'm not going to disclose anything, like some interesting projects that we have with some of the biggest blockchain communities in terms of helping their attendees with travel arrangements and stuff like that. So I'm gonna leave it cryptic for now. In terms of influencers, like what we're gonna tell them? Well, actually, we had this idea and we had this thought with Pedro quite a while back. Reaching out to like a YouTube personality or someone who's big on Twitter, but it's not going to be purely crypto. Again, we are for lack of a better word, against pump and dump kind of people, you know. I understand that a lot of people make a lot of money doing this kind of thing, but we're not one of those. Our concern is building stuff, right? So we will probably be attracting or reaching out to influencers who are related to travel, who are excited about blockchain and winding tree, maybe in particular, about winding tree changing travel for good. We'll see, maybe that kind of people. But again, just reaching out to influencers for driving the value of our token up, not right now. When we're going to list on a big exchange, then we can talk about this. Number 13, the question is number 13. Why do you offer paid consulting services instead of increasing the value of Lyft? It feels like you don't care about the ICO contributors and that the token price is no concern to you. Well, this cannot be further from the truth. Because for one simple reason, all of our team members and the founding team and people who we worked with for a long time, our advisors who are they're mastodons of the travel industry, we all hold a very small number of tokens, and you can see all of those numbers actually in the smart contract, in Lyft smart contract, and you can see who holds how much. We're all doing this because we want to benefit from this project, of course, right? We're just not, we're not doing it for fun. I would not be, spending years of my life. This is my long-term project. This is my long-term investment. I do care about the value of Lyft. The prerequisite, what you have to have for the price of Lyft to go up, is a working marketplace. That's exactly what we're working on. That's exactly what we released. That's exactly what we're driving users to right now. So once that's done, we will be listing on exchanges, talking to influencers, all of that good stuff. Right now, guys, help us with seeding the marketplace. If you know some travel company, a hotel, and whatnot, if you care about the value of Lyft, as you say you are, contact 10 hotels you go to, contact airlines, other travel-related companies, help us see the marketplace. Do hand-holding if you need to, because that's what we do right now. I mean, like a dude from, I don't know, New Zealand is calling and saying, like, how do I do this? I'm like, okay, so share your screen. Let's go ahead. Let's do that. This is MetaMask. Here's $10 worth of Ether. I'm going to help you register right now. Let's do that. You can actually help us, and you can drive the price of the token up as well. Let's do it together. This is a collaborative project. This is not like, hey, Max is responsible for the Lyft price. Right. Number 14. Is the token use case that was outlined in the white paper completely abandoned? Why was that the case? Can you help us understand how your current direction is more beneficial for us as token holders? Again, a part of this question is there's no you and us. It's us together. I'm a token holder myself, and I wouldn't be making stupid decisions just for the sake of it because it's random or whatever. I don't know. I really care about how Lyft can be used, but the Lyft use case that what we're talking in the white paper about is, hey, let's use Lyft for payments. And this was our initial idea, and we thought, hey, why not? We could do that. There could be some rebates and stuff like that. A lot of thinking went into this, right? Very simple thought. If there's another payment solution, payment instrument that you can use, a crypto payment instrument, why would you use anything else? Like, let's say we have stable coins right now. Why would you use Lyft as a payment? Because Lyft is not a stable coin. Like, its value goes up and down as any other non-stable coin token, right? For hotels and for airlines, they cannot hold Lyft for longer. The only hope would have been for holding Lyft in the long term is that, it's going to go up. But as you know, markets are completely unpredictable. Like sometimes, I know as many of you monitor Ether price and Lyft price and stuff like that, and things go up and down completely randomly. Like some whale dumped a bunch of stuff or bought a bunch of stuff, the price goes up or down. If I was a hotel, I wouldn't agree to this. And that's why we had to think about, okay, so we have to use Lyft somehow here. What are the mechanisms that we create here where Lyft can be used? And mechanisms that aren't there just for the sake of, hey, let's use Lyft somehow, but mechanisms where that would be actually useful for this whole marketplace. And I think this particular solution that involves Kleros smart contracts and just proving that you're not a spammer and stuff like that are exactly that. So yeah, in short, we think this is a better solution for all of us. That's why we changed the original white paper approach to Lyft and how it's going to be used. All righty, number 15. What is the status of the partnerships listed on your website? And are you talking to them frequently? Here's a question. So Pedro, I probably have to ask you to address this.
Sure. So as far as the partnerships listed on the website, we have quite a few airlines, quite a few hotels, technology partners, and they're all involved and committed to a future marketplace that is decentralized. As far as the airlines and hotels in particular, their limitations are, as I mentioned, to do with COVID, with the innovation teams getting laid off and different things like that. So one airline in particular, they were one of the bigger ones, and they were almost done with the integration when COVID hit, and they had to stop everything, and all the folks that were technologically involved had to be kind of weren't able to keep working there. So we're still in touch with the business sides. We have regular discussions with them, and we include them in the feedback loop and how we develop things. So for example, when we launched Glider, that wasn't originally something that was a part of our plan. This was something that was proposed by one of the airlines at the hackathon, and then again in our meetings with them afterwards. So we worked together with one of the airlines to build that out by their request, right? But we have, since the launch on July 1st, we have a lot of new airlines that are coming in as well. So we're looking at ways not only to integrate these folks directly, but maybe even some growth hacks to seed the marketplace that would make it easier for folks that don't have a tech team. So if we were to use an intermediary as a growth hack, and then we could turn to them and say, hey, look, this airline that's fully integrated direct is saving 15 million that you're spending right now with the intermediary. And we really think that you should hire your dev team back to go add this integration. And I think that would be an effective way moving ahead. And it's something that we're discussing with them right now.
Perfect. Moving on. What is the next step in the development of the platform? What needs to be achieved now? As I said several times before, we need to see the marketplace. The technology is there. We could do a better job in terms of user experience, and we are working on that as well. So basically, that's our goal. We have two kind of distinct approaches here. One is talking to obviously a small number of big companies, because bringing a big company yields, a lot of inventory or a lot of demand on the marketplace. These companies take usually a long time to close, right? We're still working on those. Another approach that, and we're pursuing the two simultaneously, is to reach out to a large number of smaller companies at the same time. While theoretically we could build some tools for them, and we have an idea, let's say, about how to build an open source inventory management system for hotels. Marketing for a large number of companies is another hurdle, right? Which is going to distract us from the important things. Nonetheless, we're pursuing both directions, talking to big companies, talking to small companies, building tools, building interfaces, and stuff like that. So that is the next step in the development of the platform. Yeah, I guess that's that. Are you planning to build a public dashboard so we can see real life traction in your platform? That's a good one. I would love to see that. We kind of have something like that on the WineIntree marketplace. If you go to marketplace.wineintree.com, you can see companies that have registered there so far. And by no means it's a large number, but that's exactly why we have this laser focus on like, hey, trial people have to understand what this is about. They have to be able to register right away. And we talked to many of them, and as Pedro mentioned, for example, they're saying something like, "Oh, what the hell is MetaMask? Why do I need this?" Stuff like that. So there's a gap that we have to bridge between the travel industry and the future, if you will. So yeah, hard task, but very fascinating, and we're educating lots of people in the process. Are you, okay, no. Next, will Lyft ever be used as a payment option in any capacity for bookings, even if it's just for glider travel? Probably not. Probably not. Why? I don't see why. You can pay with Ether, you can pay with Bitcoin if you want. There's absolutely no need for Lyft to be a payment token. I think we have other better uses for that. And yeah. Number 19.
I would say, I mean, the reason why you would use another token, the reason you wouldn't use Lyft for payment is the same reason you wouldn't use Bitcoin or Ether, Max. It would be because you'd probably use a stable coin. I can't anticipate.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
I mean, using Bitcoin as a regular form of payment for trips is just not effective, especially right now. Like, it's booming. Everyone spends their Ether on a trip, and they spent twice as much as it was worth, a few minutes later, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and think about it, like stable coins, for example, are a much better tool because, well, right now Ether is going up and Bitcoin is going up. Are you going to use it to book a trip? Of course not. You're going to hodl, right? And then Ether is going down and Bitcoin is going down. Are you, as a hotel, are you going to accept that kind of payment? No, its value is going down. What the hell? Why would I do that? So stable coins for the win in terms of payment. Number 19, what is the biggest challenge that you have had in getting your platform to the right organizations? Like convincing them to sign up? I mean, okay, so we're quite known in the travel space. I don't think, well, only if you're living under a rock somewhere and you are in the travel industry, you haven't heard about WineIntree. So we don't have a problem talking to people. We have, as I said, this gap between their understanding what decentralized technologies, not just WineIntree, but decentralized technologies in general are. For the majority, still, for the vast majority of people who talk to us, they're thinking that Bitcoin is something that you do some speculation, you make money on, right? So that's their level of understanding of what those things are, or that understanding is completely absent. So that's our biggest challenge: education. Could you share some details about the future roadmap now that the main product is launched? Yes, and we will be publishing actually a roadmap on the website where we'll outline all those projects. And so what I really want to do, and again, it's related to a bunch of other questions that we have right now, how the community should be involved. We need more transparency about what you guys are doing. And I think it's very healthy, especially for open source projects, to have like some sort of Trello board or GitHub board where you can say, okay, so this stuff is done, this stuff is in progress, this stuff they're planning to do, stuff like that. So we do have a board like that. I'm not sure it's pretty much up to date, and maybe we can share the link later in the chat somehow. Put it on the footer of the website or something like that. We should do it. Is it? I think I did see it. Hold on, guys. Yeah, it's not there, but we're gonna put it there. So we're gonna put it there today, within maybe a couple hours after this. So you will see the roadmap. Could you share some details about the future? Why am I reading the same question? What is the biggest achievement you've made so far? Could be in terms of tech development, business partners. Whew, that's so good. I think the biggest achievement that we have today is we figured it out, like we cracked it. 3 years ago, we were trying to, like, it was obvious that blockchain as technology could be used in centralized markets to produce, something amazing. We figured out how to do that. And that the answer is decentralized identity. Pedro.
Yeah, so I would drill down more specifically. One of the things that from the development side that I'm really, proud and excited about is Org ID as a solution to business identities and KYB. This is something that's not really been solved in any other space that I know of, and it's something that has implications outside of travel. So something like Org ID could be used in almost any industry that involves, having to prove that you really are who you're claiming to be and so on. So I see that in the future it could even be used outside of travel. And second, I think few really understand the implications of Air Canada completely listing on Winding Tree on a completely decentralized marketplace. There's a lot of marketing that goes around from different tech companies and everything, but this is a first really for the industry to have an airline completely listing their inventory on a decentralized platform that in an automated way companies can go and access. And I'm really looking forward to the time when we have 10 Air Canadas on there, and that will completely change the travel industry. And this kind of milestone of Air Canada is a really big deal. Having their inventory on there and being able to book it in a decentralized way like this, I think it's our biggest accomplishment.
Agreed. Okay, moving on. That was question number one. We're have a really, really good pace. Do you plan to include loyalty points into the Winding Tree in the future? It's a huge part of the industry. It is a huge part of the industry. No plan so far. And I have, this is maybe a longer discussion, and I have drafts of articles where I explain that, hotels, individual airlines, that's their job to have loyalty. Like, customers should be loyal to companies that provide services to them, right? And they should be able to do that in using crypto tokens or any other way. The simplest way of doing loyalty points on Winding Tree or in general in the world is have a piece of paper where you would stamp, hey, you got 1 coffee, 2 coffee, 3 coffee. Okay, fifth or 10th coffee is for free, right? Like, you don't need our permission to do that. So we will be participating in discussions that are related to loyalty and points, because there's been many crypto loyalty, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe in that. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I am. But we have other things that we should be concentrating on before we do loyalty. When will smart contracts for tours and activities, car rentals, etc., be available? So are we talking about this concept of a directory, which is basically a Kleros powered directory for companies of a certain type? And if that's the case, then, well, in about a month, we're hoping to have our first interfaces around that, where any company goes there, they say, hey, we are a tour and activity company or car rental or something else, and hey, the community verifies all of those companies and the correctness of that information. So very soon. We are working on those things. Number 23, number 24, do you plan to create any kind of rating system like a Yelp on the blockchain to ensure a transparent and fair marketplace? That's a really good one, and we've thought about it. We discussed this, and actually we have very active community members, for lack of a better word, that talk to us constantly about this, and it's needed. We have no plan on creating something like that yet, and hopefully our community members will come up with something like that. But that's absolutely needed, absolutely required. I agree. This is a great idea. Thank you. That's number 24. And the next one is obviously 25. So where do you envision the Winding Tree platform to be in the next 5 years? Someone smart said, planning is guessing. My plan is, but not in 5 years, in 2 years, to see a Winding Tree worldwide convention. I would call it WTWC. Hosted in 2 years somewhere with thousands and thousands of participants coming, collaborating, building the platform together. Obviously, lots and lots of travel companies, fair and transparent discussion about where the industry, the travel industry, can go. So stuff like that. So obviously, achieving critical mass, in other words, within the next, but not 5 years, but I give it 1 or 2.
I think for the 5-year vision that I see as kind of the ideal outcome is Winding Tree being used, the travel industry and Winding Tree being used as an example of what can be done with decentralized technology, similar to the way that, nowadays people will say the Airbnb of, I don't know, dating apps, or the Uber of e-commerce or whatever, actually using this, what we've done as a community in this space to show a measure of success in another industry. And I think that it's very, very realistic within the next 5 years.
Number 26, the Lyft token will have a governance voting utility, correct? Can you give some practical examples around what kind of topics token holders will be able to vote? So the thing is, the voting ability is going to be wielded by companies that have proven that they are real travel companies, right? So obviously there will be more and more companies joining. There will be demand for Lyft. The Lyft price will go up because of that. And the community of voters around this is not going to be just Lyft token holders, right? It's going to be companies that are actually participating in active trading on the platform. And like what they will be able to decide. We are, well, I mean, an obvious thing is the smart contract, right? The org ID smart contract and some other smart contracts that we have. The control of those smart contracts should be in the hands of a DAO smart contract of DAO, or some sort of governance smart contract, right? I think the governance part should be open enough, such as participants of the marketplaces, travel companies, they should be able to decide what kind of questions they should be able to resolve. I mean, everything is decentralized here, right? And the community should be able to control this. If they are not able to address a certain question with the tools and with the interfaces and smart contracts that are available right now, they should be able to propose or at least say somewhere like, hey, this is missing, and someone will come and build that for them. And again, it could be us, it could be other open source contributors. But the topics right now, what I can think about from top of my head, that smart contracts, that maybe some things, some open source projects, and that's the idea that I have, let's say, in terms of hotel inventory management systems. very few things are available. Those that are good are extremely expensive, hard to work with. You cannot sign up. You see that button that says, "Hey, contact our sales department." That's when you know that you're in trouble, right? Because why do I have to call you again? Anyway, number 27. How is Winding Tree approaching the aspect of decentralization? How decentralized is your network? Any limitations? The answer here is, like, we're trying to make it as decentralized as possible. As of now, we do control the Orgate smart contract. Well, obviously before the DAO is ready and fully underway. We do have a comment like that. We're open about this on, let's say, org ID, GitHub repository. We are saying clearly that, hey, that's a to-do, and that's a major thing that needs to be done. What is Winding Tree? Technically, it's a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain. It's a set of interfaces around this. All of those interfaces are completely open source. The Winding Tree marketplace is open source. You don't need to rely on us to access those interfaces. You can run them on your own computer, on your own server. So smart contract, the marketplace smart contract or the Orgate smart contract, obviously decentralized or will be 100% decentralized when it's controlled by the DAO. Then open source interfaces around this, anyone can run them. Lyft token smart contract, we cannot do and change. You have proof of that. So pretty decentralized, I would say. So limitations, I mean, obvious Ethereum network limitations. We are still an Ethereum project. Yeah, let me know if you think there are any other limitations. Just go to our Telegram chat and let's discuss that there. And if you have any concerns, let's address those. Number 28, I have checked the price between Glider Travel and historic players and made a comparison. Why are prices from Glider Travel more expensive than Sabre, Amadeus, Booking.com? How can you drive adoption with such prices? Oof, it hurts. So we work with these companies, with our partners. We're sourcing the inventory directly from them. And it's entirely up to them to decide on those prices, right? It's not that the Winding Tree marketplace somehow, having a markup on top of that. Absolutely not. That's what the hotel or airline or someone else decided. That's how much they want to sell their inventory through this particular channel. This is a concern to us. Obviously, it's absolutely ridiculous that the same hotel, because of some price parity BS, sells their room for 80 euro on Booking.com, and then they come to us. They have no other costs, absolutely. They could sell it for much lower, but instead they're selling it for 100. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. And we're calling those companies and we're emailing them and we're telling them this is unacceptable. It's illogical, and we don't understand that. At the same time, we cannot
I'll add
policy of those companies. And Pedro, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just based on discussions with the partners. So it's not so much like them, trying to make an extra penny or something like that. It's more of a logistics, because if you look at pricing from travel companies, a lot of it is actually not even done by the companies that you're talking to. It's done by intermediaries. And there's a lot of complexities that go into that. And right now what we're getting is their base price, which is what they would sell it for, right? And it's just a matter of, we're talking about adding a new channel because there is no other solution like Winding Tree that it's a direct connect where you're pulling this direct the way that it's being done today with us. And for them to adapt to that new way, like, hey, this is this is a third party, but it's not an intermediary that's taking a huge cut. How can we put prices there that are competitive and will, attract customers, but doesn't fit into one of the boxes of the existing distribution models of the past. Because if you look at any new startup, any project that's doing anything in travel, they're all getting their inventory from one of the 3 GDSs. So it's not really anything new. It's not bypassing anything. It's not. It's just a bunch of people getting from the same 3 sources everywhere, right? So this is a new channel, and it takes time for them to adapt and create a new way to model it in. There's the pricing side, and then there's a technical side of putting a new negotiated rate, so to speak. Yeah.
Thank you, Pedro. Question number 29. Would Origin protocol be a kind of competitor to Winding Tree, given the fact that you can build a decentralized marketplace with it? If that's the case, if you really can use it to build a decentralized marketplace with it, then maybe yes. Yeah, that sounds fair. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I looked at their project. There needs to be a very comprehensive analysis of, again, how decentralized they are, who are their investors, how all that is driven. If someone from the community could educate us and someone looked into like details about all of those other things, and if you can educate us, let's talk about this. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
I guess my 2 cents, I don't know much about Origin. It would, again, have to understand like whether it's actually decentralized, all that. But as far as just from e-commerce perspective and travel, if you look at the history of attempts by Google, Amazon in the past to enter travel, they've been trying to enter for over 10 years, and they've wasted a lot of money, a lot of resources, and Google's finally starting to scratch the surface. If you look at Amazon's attempts also, they're starting to enter travel, but it's very, how would you say, anticlimactic compared to the way that they've taken other industries and completely dominated them, right? So if you look at all the e-commerce spaces that Amazon has come in and just swept the floor, travel is the hardest to penetrate. So even if it was a decentralized platform that was legit and there wasn't an extraction method by VCs and all that, there's all the decentralization questions. I still wouldn't see it as a direct competitor or conflict in that we're tackling a very specific problem for travel, and travel is a very complicated space that traditional Googles and Amazons of the world have had a very hard time even scratching the surface for. I doubt that a project with 30, 40 million in funding would be able to enter this space with a generic solution, right?
Thank you, Pedro. Question number 30. I don't know if that's going to be the last one. Do we have some time for a couple more? Maybe Spencer, let me know. The question number 30, have you thought about some kind of partner program to enable other consultants to support organizations and adding buyers and suppliers? That's something, the underlying question here is, do you need our permission to do this? And the answer is no. Again, the platform is decentralized. Do you have the ability to provide such consulting services and onboard the demand side of the marketplace, the supply side of the marketplace? Build an aggregator, connect 1,000 hotels together, build an API for them, because obviously hotels don't have APIs on their own. And list that inventory on the Winding Tree marketplace. We cannot stop you from doing that. So please do, and please do let us know if you do that and register on the marketplace and tell us exactly what you're trying to do through on the platform. Happy to, anyone who comes to the marketplace, reach out to us. We'll help you to find a good fit on the marketplace where you can do stuff, and happily list other companies that could provide consulting to hotels and other travel companies on their website. Or you are just literally going to say, hey, you have a question? Talk to this company. They're going to explain everything to you. Happy to do that. Number 30. That was number 30. Next one is 31. When will Glider source code be available? When will the security audit be done and code be ready? Really, really good question. We are absolutely trying to make sure that when we release the source code of Glider, it has two components. One, there's the front end part and the back end part. We're trying to make sure that you guys, whoever is going to use that stuff for their trial agency, that you guys are going to be safe. So we should not be irresponsible here. And we were looking at some companies, and some quoted us like almost $100,000 for that. So we're trying to make sure that, well, first of all, we don't break the bank for this, and second of all, that you're going to be safe. So as soon as possible, I promise. That's one of our top priorities. It's way underway, this kind of stuff. So yeah, I really want to do that. That's one of the, also very related to adoption. We want to show other companies about how you can build stuff on top of Winding Tree. So top priority for me, for sure.
So that about sums it up for today. As we mentioned, we had over 100 questions, and we were able to cover 31 of them today, if I have the right number. And I wanted to thank Federico and Clément for joining us today. We didn't have as much time to talk about Kleros, but it's a big part of what we're doing, and really appreciate having you guys here, and for explaining about how we're how it's being used in the platform and how we're working together. And as Max mentioned, we will be doing follow-up AMAs where we can cover the rest of your questions. And so stay tuned. It's exciting times, and I think that overall things are moving ahead as far as the blockchain space and technology is it's at a point where it's being validated more and more and being used for real-world things. And again, happy to be working with Kleros and folks that are doing real stuff in the blockchain space as well.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for joining. I again just encourage everyone to go to kleros.io and check out the stuff that they have. It's brilliant what they've built. I'm super excited about their project. Thank you guys.
Good guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. And again, let's host these things regularly and answer all of those questions. I think in the future, I see quite a bit of comments in the chat as well that, let's achieve the critical mass for the marketplace. When that's done, we're going to be discussing all those influencers and exchanges and Lyft price and all of that stuff. Until then, we're probably not going to be taking and addressing those questions. It's, for a lot of people, as I see in the chat, it's just wasted time, right? Important when it's time. Apart from that, thank you very much, guys, for joining. And I'm really excited. Thank you for all the support in the chat. And let's keep in touch. Thank you so much.